Set up the alarm.
Return to open, can you call the roll, please?
I need an introduction in a second.
So motion to return to open.
Vidal, second for Colomeo.
Roll call.
Councilman Henwood?
Yes.
Councilman Dorn? Yes. Councilman Monty?
Yes.
Councilman Vidal?
Yes.
Councilman Colomeo?
Yes.
Mayor Dillon?
All right. Approval of minutes.
Okay, Mayor, we need an approval of minutes of July 23rd, 2014, regular and closed, August 11th, 2014, regular and closed. I need an introduction in a second.
Do we have an introduction?
I'll introduce it.
Dorn, a second.
Second.
Councilman Colomeo. Councilman Henwood? These are for the minutes.
Abstain.
Councilman Dorn?
Yeah. Yes.
Councilman Monty?
Yes.
Councilman Vidal?
Yes.
Councilman Colomeo?
Yes.
All right, ordinance number 1512, 2014. An ordinance of the Borough of Edgewater, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 240 of the Borough Code to implement and reaffirm the recommendations contained in the April 2014 Master Plan reexamination as approved by the Planning Board. This reexamination sets forth the goals to bring the current land use and zoning patterns into conformity with approved developments and future developments so they are compatible. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public on ordinance 1512, 2014. Valerie?
Valerie Mordina, 16 Hudson Terrace, Edgewater, New Jersey. I don't agree that you should change your codes to conform to developments that are being built. The development should conform to the zoning that you have. And in fact, the change in this, this plan will really, the hypothesis that you need to change the zoning to allow more high-rise development, so it can, what is already there will conform. It is not true in this case because most of the developments that were approved in recent years are not what you're changing the zoning to be. So I don't understand the whole conformity thing, because they're not. This is not conforming to what's been approved. Those kind of structures do not exist in this plan. Are you going to talk about what you talked about in closed session today?
This is on 1512.
I know, but just, yes, are you gonna?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so that's, I think you should reject this zoning plan. I think it's the, Mr. Dives, who owns the majority of the plots of land that will be able to be changed, is the benefactor in this change, and it should be rejected. Not because of Mr. Dives, but just because it's bad planning.
Ma'am.
Kathy Crickle, I have a question to what degree does ordinance 1512, 2014 rely on the previous ordinance 1485, 2012? I don't know if you can answer that question or.
They're virtually identical.
Okay. Were any notices given of today's hearing adopting this ordinance to the adjoining towns or the counties?
The borough clerk has provided those notices that are required by statute to the neighboring towns.
I would like to give you the demographic study that was done for the Edgewater Public Schools. And I have a question if this was considered when you prepared the ordinance. This represents the impact on the school system within the developments.
Mayor, I believe the answer to that question is that the planning board did have the demographic study where conclusions in that.
They did have the study?
Yes.
Because the study is dated May 6th, and the last hearing of the planning board was April 28th, and at those hearings, they did not have the study.
This one dated May 6th, maybe not, but they did have demographic reports.
Demographic reports are updated on a regular basis, so.
To my knowledge, I have attended both hearings, and they were not relying on the latest demographic study. Now, in this study, on page Page 12, table 4, lists all the new developments. And the note says that the name of the development, type, number of units, number of bedrooms, and remarks were supplied by John Condello, the Edgewater construction official. Did anybody notice or question why for the number of units for I-Park that is listed here is at 237, when I-Park was actually approved for 595 units?
Your question us about a demographic report, we're here to discuss the ordinance. One of the considerations that was part of the master plan reexamination was this report. So the ordinance doesn't reference that report. So, I mean, I'm not here to debate why the information in this report contains what it contains. This was prepared by Whitehall Associates, and I think we'd have to, present that question to them, why they did what they did. Maybe those are the units that are built today, which are a more accurate depiction of what it could be. So, but I don't know, I'm just speculating.
I believe that this table represents that the units that were approved, and I-Park was approved at 595 units, not 37. And this report was not prepared in time for the planning board. It was not considered. And I have one more question. Section 9 of the ordinance that's being adopted tonight, 15/12/2014, has a list of property addresses, block and lot numbers, and zone designation. So this is what you are changing the zoning to, correct?
We are reaffirming what we had adopted in November of 2012. Because a lot of these properties had been subdivided, and the correct lot and block of those subdivided properties did not find its way into the assessor's office, the original ordinance was inconsistent with the actual lot and blocks that had subdivision. This is an updated ordinance that reflects those lots and blocks, as well as some of the other factors that the planner and the planning board took into consideration. The Hess property, for example. So that's what that does. But essentially, the properties identified in that list are essentially the same ones that were identified in the ordinance that this governing body previously adopted.
So my question is, what is the difference between this ordinance and the 2012 ordinance?
We have updated the changes to correctly reflect the correct lot blocks based on the number of subdivisions that have occurred over the years. We've also have reaffirmed because the planning board revisited their master plan, and they identified other issues that they felt were important, including the Hess property. And so as part of our responsibility, we are readopting this ordinance so that it is consistent with the most recent master plan reexamination.
So essentially, the ordinance of 2015, 12, 2014 relies on the ordinance 1485, 2012. Is that correct?
Well, when you say relies on it, it's a reaffirmation of that ordinance with the corrections or modifications that I just explained to you.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Mary?
Mary Hogan, 606 Huntington Avenue. I believe that this review of this master plan is totally bogus to add all those additional high rises down in the south end of town. You're just going to kill the town even further in terms of traffic and inability of the town to provide services. And it is pretty obvious from looking through the properties that the majority of the properties that have been rezoned to have high rise on it belong to Mr. Divey's or to entities that he owns. And that it is, again, it's this mayor and council's actions to help Mr. Divey's to make money off of this town, not for the betterment of the town, but for the betterment of his pocketbook.
Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing none, I'll close the open portion of the meeting on 15/12/2014. Do we have any council discussion?
Mayor, can I just make a comment? I think it's important to point out that in 2012, the planning board did adopt a reexamination of their master plan. And part of that study involved the south end of town and the goals and the desires to promote a more vibrant area for development. We have not had the success in development in that end of town that we have enjoyed in the other areas of town. We wanted to create a pedestrian-friendly, walkable environment. We have learned over time that a higher building seems to be more aesthetic to allow view corridors on both sides, and it does generate fewer school-age children than the low-rise buildings. We have statistics that support that. And when we adopted that ordinance in November of 2012, it reflected not only the existing conditions down there, but the other goals and objectives that the planning board felt were important and that we as a governing body agreed with. So we adopted our ordinance in 2013. That ordinance was challenged by Mrs. Krikovic, and that trial was conducted in the Superior Court before Judge Carver. And Judge Carver upheld the validity of that ordinance that we adopted in 2012. And the one we are adopting tonight is virtually identical to that, but for the modifications and the adjustments that the planning board included in their master plan periodic reexamination. So in order to make this ordinance consistent with the recent master plan, we are readopting that tonight. We think that is the right thing. We're not changing anything. We're not creating new high-rise. This thing occurred 2 years ago. We've had a long discussion. We had plenty of public meetings about it, and we're just simply making the two documents substantially consistent. So,
Any discussion from the council? Do I have an introduction?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Henwood.
I just want to add, this is like the last major piece of developed land or old bad land, and it's going to be decent developments that, you know, that limit the amount of kids that are demographics and tax base we want, it just makes so much sense. And basically, objecting to everything we do is not really leadership or not.